All glory be to God. So, I just wanted to get on here real quick because the Lord does put this on my heart. Um, First things first, and I want to take my time with this. And I may repeat myself, I may repeat stuff, but that's okay because, sometimes we may need stuff repeated to us. We may need to hear stuff more than once. We may need to hear the same thing over and over. And as long as it's truth, and as long as it's the gospel, and as long as it's something that can help inspire one another, then that's good. But he put in my heart that, like, sometimes we may need to cry out. And it's in the uncomfortableness that he gives us our greatest lessons. He gives us our greatest understanding, right? Because if he leaves us comfortable, we'll be all right in being comfortable. We will never go to him. We may never go to him. We may never cry out to him. We may never call on him. We may never pray. May never worship, fast, do none of that. We may never cry out to him. And so he'll make us uncomfortable. And while we're being uncomfortable, we need to be asking him, what is it that he wants us to understand out of this uncomfortableness? What is it that he's wanting for us to understand out of the hurt, out of the pain? Because a lot of times when we're uncomfortable, we get weary, we get stressed out, and a lot of times it has to do with bills or money, finances, the places where we're at that we don't want to be. So we need to ask him when we're being brought to a place of uncomfortability or uncomfortableness. What is it that he wants us to understand? What is it that he's getting, he wants us to get out of the situation from being uncomfortable. And it's okay to cry out. A lot of times we we need to cry out because that is a form of worship too, because then we understand, we get to a place where we're so low, or we get to a place where we understand that it's him, the one and truly, the one and only true God. It's him that we have to call on. Even if you're reluctant to call on him, even if you may not fully believe in him, even if you trying to be rebellious against God, once you get uncomfortable, it comes to a point where you have to call on him, and you cry out. You crying out to something, you crying out for something because you're uncomfortable and the pain is there, right? And so you cry out to him, and that's a good thing. And men, I need the men to know this, that it is okay to cry. It is okay. It is not weak because you cry. It's actually a form of strength when men know how to cry, and especially cry out to God, right? And so the thing is they have to come to the understanding and have to come to maturity enough to know what they're feeling, their emotions, to understand their emotions, to know what they're feeling, to be able to express that in a healthy way and not just explode or rebel or flee and stuff like that. And then you have to be able to be around people, safe people, men and women, that's mature enough and that's safe enough to understand what you're expressing, and to know how to handle it, to know how to advise, to know how to embrace your emotions, men's emotions. It does not make you weak because you're a man and you cry. It makes you actually stronger, for real. And so he put that on my spirit as well. And then also, once we get to that place of crying out to the Lord, right? And we ask him, what are you trying to get out of me for this? We have to understand and have to be able to know that we are crying out to God, and we have to understand that he's wanting for us to get an understanding or a wisdom of something. And or else, like I said yesterday, hurt people. We're gonna bleed on people that was called to come and help us, and rah them and dismiss them and push them away when they were sent to heal us and help us. If we don't ask God what he's trying to get from us. And then, so they say hurt people, heal people, heal people. So once we begin to heal, then we'll be able to be used as a vessel, to heal people. And that's a lot of what we're called to do. We're iron sharpening iron, us being able to help one another, not just emotionally or financially, but, mentally and physically. And sometimes you may have a mother or grandmother or dad or uncle or somebody that's sick and elderly, and then you got to go to work, and then who you gonna leave with them. A lot of times the nursing homes and stuff, people, they be tired because they're overworked and underpaid, and then you don't have nobody to help you. But the Lord will put on somebody's heart, the Lord will put on somebody's mind to be able to offer up their time, offer up their assistance, offer up their, finances, offer up some type of help to take that off of you, right? We're called to be that for each other. We're called to love one another. We're called to help one another. But as it is now, the world is so about me, and I. The world is so fixated on what I can get from me and how can it benefit me. And we then got to a point where we're so hurt and traumatized by past stuff and have not cried out. We so traumatized of past things and have not cried out and have not gotten that healing. We have to, again, that takes me back to, we have to learn how to cry out to God so he can put in us the understanding and the wisdom that he's trying to give us. Because Jesus came down as a perfect human being, and people hated him because he was so perfect. And a lot of times people will do that. They get mad at you and call you holier than thou because you're trying to walk the walk that Christ walked. You're going to suffer regardless if you walk the walk that he walked or you walk the walk that the enemy walked. You're going to suffer regardless. But a lot of times people get mad at you because they're still wanting to be lukewarm. They still want to be in between and do what they want to do. They want to hate. And I'm not just talking about the known sins that people love to put out there, as far as idolatry and murder and being homosexual and all of this stuff. Yeah, it's a sin, but there's other sins too. We're called to love our neighbors. We're called to love our enemies. We're called to help one another. We're called to do all of these other things too. Stop having bitterness and jealousy and envies. We're called not to covet other people. We're called not to do all of these other things too. But we like to point the finger and judge people because of their sin, and we don't think that our sin is just as bad as their sin, but the Lord is judging all of us in our hearts. And you may appear to be a Christian or somebody that's doing good on the outside because you give to the homeless, or you think you giving to somebody, or you give them a ride, or you do whatever you feel like you're doing, and you may feel like you doing what Christians do. But Christ came as a pure, perfect human being, and he became the sin that our ancestors were doing. He became that adultery. He became that sin. He became the murderer. He became the rapist. He became the liar. He became the cheater. He became all of that. He became all of that for us. So that way we can go to him and we can put all of our sin that we have on us, if we lying, cheating, stealing, committing adultery, idolatry, if we doing all of that, he became that. And he said, we're going to suffer. If you pick him up, you're going to suffer. We're going to suffer. Regardless, we're going to suffer. But you're going to suffer when you come to him, because we have to learn how to love our enemies. We have to learn how to not be boastful, prideful. We have to learn, but it's hard when you've been brought up in the system that way. That's take, me, my, I. It's hard to do it, but that's where the uncomfortableness come in at. That's where the crying out comes in at. That's where we have to ask him, Lord, what are you trying to get what do you want me to get out of this? What are you trying to teach me, Lord? And a lot of times we want to be bigged up, right? We want to be puffed up. We want all of the accolade, we want all of the praise, and we want all of this, but it goes to him. Once he heals us and start working on us, and it's a walk, it's not a thing that's going to happen overnight. It's a walk. That's the reason why he did how he walked with the disciples, how he walked with the disciples, right? um and Peter had to get it because Peter was so gun-ho about fighting for the Lord and doing all of these things and being so self-righteous and stuff like that, not to down Peter or whatever, but he was so big on these things, and the Lord was trying to tell him, it's the walk with me. It's the everyday walk with me, because I picked you up as a fisher. Now I'm gonna make you a fisher of men, and you're gonna have to deal with people that's going to persecute you. You're gonna have to deal with people that's gonna lie on you and that's gonna be trying to, do wrong to a good person, and you can't be cutting off everybody's ear. You can't be cutting off everybody's ear. And then, like I was just saying, everybody want to be puffed up and everybody want to have this big platform and stuff, but sometimes it's not meant for that. Sometimes it's meant to just minister to your family, your immediate family. Sometimes it's meant to be okay with being having just mediocre. um Thank you, Father God. Sometimes we call to be mediocre, but um and that God can get the glory and he can bless you 10 times over. It wasn't until Job realized that the Lord, it wasn't necessarily because I heard this one little short where the guy was saying that he had a bet going on. God had a bet going on with Satan about Job, right? And it wasn't so much about a bet he had going on. He was trying to teach Job as well, because the devil is never going to win. But he was trying to teach Job as well that um, when things are going good, I'm still God. When things are going bad, I'm still God. And it kind of goes hand in hand with Job and Joseph. What you meant for evil turned out for good, because your friends were sitting up here telling you all of this stuff. And then and with Moses, because I'm in the book of Exodus now. With Moses, he kept saying that he hardened Pharaoh's heart, right? And I'm thinking, like, it wasn't necessarily God was intentionally like, I'm gonna harden his heart and he gonna say no. His heart was being hardened because he was still being prideful. He didn't want to acknowledge that there was a true living God other than himself, because he was Pharaoh of Egypt. He was supposed to have been the king of the land. He was supposed to have been this high and mighty person, right? Thus, because Moses is using this staff, right? Moses is using this little old staff, and he first turned the staff into a serpent, then he turned the water into blood. And the magicians kept doing the same thing too. And so he brought on the frogs, then he brought on the plague of the frogs. And I think it was after the frogs that they couldn't match, the magicians and the sorcerers, they couldn't match what Moses was doing with that staff. And so the people in Egypt started to understand, like, okay, there is their God. It truly is their God. And they began to like, all right, Pharaoh, we can go ahead and let them go. We need to go ahead and maybe let them go, because if not, we're gonna come to ruin. If not, we gonna all for surely die. And his heart was hardened all the way up until the Passover. His heart was hardened. And so it's not that God just want to prove something to somebody, or Satan or something like that. He wants us to know, us human beings to know, that he loves us, but he's also a just God, and that he's the one and true living God. He is the I am that I am. And that's how he referred himself to Moses and told him to tell Pharaoh and the Egyptians, I am that I am. I don't need nothing else. Y'all don't need nothing else but that, to know that I am, right? And so, but everybody want to be big, and everybody want to be have this name for themselves. But the thing is, you might be called to minister to your family, to bring your family out of their generational curse and live in peace, because you're the one that goes to work every day, and you're the one that has a peaceful, stable home for your child, you and your children, or you and your spouse, and you're able to do these things that past generations wasn't able to do. You're able to be married, and people don't want to be regular. They don't want to just chill and be live in abundance and live in peace. What God has gave them the grace for, what God has blessed them with, they think that having all of this stuff, and that's what's wrong with us. If we steady coveting people and we looking, keeping our minds on the news and keeping our minds business gossip got to do, they're going to teach you, they're going to initially teach you and what's the name, you to thinking that that's what you're supposed to be in, that's what you're supposed to be doing, that's how you get in, that's how you get popular, that's how you get all of these things, and you don't necessarily need all of that. Your ministry, how God can get the glory and you can get glory and you can be blessed beyond measure, is you entering into the land of milk and honey, learning what God is trying to teach you, how to walk Christ-like. We don't need to be out here trying to fit into the world. And it's okay to not be liked. It's okay to not be loved because you're preaching truth, or you're talking truth, or you wanting to walk in truth, and not be lukewarm, and not be being okay with this type of thing, but saying it's not okay to do this, like that's not right, because that's kind of like being lukewarm. If you're gonna you're gonna please yourself one way, but then say it's a sin for somebody else to please themselves another way, that's not right. That's being lukewarm. And so it's okay. You don't need the approval of man to live godly. You don't need the approval of man to do exactly what the Bible tells us to do. You do not need the man's approval for that, right? And we're not called to judge. We just have to pray for our fellow brothers and sisters, because God has brought us out of some of the same stuff that our brothers and sisters, some brothers and sisters, are still stuck in. And then another thing too is, if a lot of times God, again, a lot of times, like, you can be called, or people want to be, people want God to enter into their life and make them a good name, right? Make them a good name, and put them on a platform and stuff like that. But again, that platform, or that increase may be for you to be at your own house and do this for your own family, the increase of your own family and stuff like that. Because a lot of times when the Lord, he had to destroy people, there were children. Sodom and Gomorrah, I'm sure there were children in Sodom and Gomorrah. When he flooded the earth, I'm sure there were children present amongst the kids, that amongst the people that when he had to flood the earth. I'm pretty sure there were kids. So with us judging people, and wanting him to take vengeance for us against people that may have done us wrong or things like that, it's the same thing as him doing it to us, like him getting justice for us, whatever we have done, may have done, in the past or whatever, and he had mercy upon us. Because a lot of times, whatever we do, it affects our kids, it affects the next generation, and we don't understand this when we're in the midst of it and we're in the middle of it. We don't understand that it can affect our kids, it can affect our future, not just our generation, but the kids generate the generation after us, right? And so if he take vengeance for you on these people, and he take out them and their kids and stuff, what about yours? What about the generation after you and stuff like that? I know I'm not explaining it right, but try to stay with me. And so a lot of times it's okay to be uncomfortable because he's trying to get a message across to you. He's trying to get a lesson to you. He's trying to get you to understand and get some wisdom out of something. Because if you stay comfortable, you wouldn't know how to go to him. You wouldn't know how to cry out to him. You wouldn't know how to, or you wouldn't want to. Not know how to, but you wouldn't want to. You wouldn't want to cry. You wouldn't want to cry out to him. You wouldn't want to go to him. You feel like everything is all right and that you're the one that's doing, making sure that you're all right because you're the one that's getting up and going to work and all of this stuff. But again, it's the same thing that Job. I'm good when stuff is going right, and I'm good when stuff is not going right. And then he'll chip away. He'll have to chip away at that flesh, right? He'll have to chip away at that pride. He'll have to chip away at that highness, that high-mindedness, and he'll have to chip away at the lukewarmness, because we're not called to be in this world. We're not called to be of the world. We're not called to be just like the world. And then you can't even just have a little toe in there. People like to stick their toe off in there, you know. And so they can fit in, and so people won't look at them as trying to be holier than thou, and I have to come down off of trying to follow Christ to follow you. No, you're not my God. You're not my God. I would rather follow Christ and lose you than to lose God or Christ trying to follow behind you and go to hell, thinking I'm doing what's right because I'm doing what's right in my own mind, in my own heart. But God knows the heart. He knows what we were doing. And he it was another thing, like I was saying, people, you know, want to be so big, but the lady with the alabaster box, the lady with the alabaster box that let's see, the lady that washed Jesus' feet. It was a lady that washed Jesus' feet, and with her tears she wiped his feet and used her hair. And he was like, I came up in here and you ain't even offer me a glass of water. You supposed to be this high-minded and this uppity man and stuff like that, but you ain't even offer me nothing. You ain't offer me nothing. And this woman is washing my feet with her tears in her hair. And then there was a lady that put her last. It was a poor widow. She put her last off in the offering or whatever, and you know, everybody was putting all of this money in there and putting all this money in there, and she put in her last. And he was like, she put in more than anybody that didn't came off in here thinking that they didn't put something off in here. She didn't put more than all of y'all. So you don't have to be blessed with you. I mean, you don't have to have all of this, what you think that you have to have in order to feel yourself as being blessed. He said that the woman that put her last, that was poor and a widow, she put in there more than what anybody had put in that felt like they put in a whole bunch, that they had an abundance of. The woman that wiped his feet with her hair and stuff, she did more than the dude that whose house it was and invited him in and thought he was gonna show Jesus up. He takes the little things and makes them big. Again, with Moses, you know, he was using the whole little staff. He did more with that staff than with Pharaoh, you know, and his sorcerers did. With all of their jewelry and their gold and stuff, and they had to give the Israelites. He made the Egyptian ladies have favor on the women when they went to go borrow the gold and the silver and the bracelets and all of this stuff to get them up out of Egypt so they can worship God and do their sacrifices to God for getting them out of there. So it's okay to cry out. We're supposed to cry out. We're supposed to cry out to God. It's a good thing to cry out to God and ask him what is it that he needs for you to understand so he can take you where he's trying to take you. Even if it is just to minister and to bring your family bloodline out of a generational warfare. Even if it is just to be in your little city or your little town and help and do what you can do for the people that's there in your city and your town. Do the cry out. Every so often, cry out. Even when stuff is going good, cry out. When stuff is going bad, cry out, worship, and pray. Pray without ceasing. We have to, y'all. We have to, because the enemy, he's never sleeping. He never stops. The enemy never stops. I promise you, y'all, he don't. And when you getting closer and closer to God, that's when he rev it up. He send out people and he send out things to distract you. He send out people to try to get up under your skin and be petty with you and all of this stuff. So cry out to God. All glory be to God, y'all. God is so good. And I'm just thankful. I'm just thankful for this. I'm thankful, first off, for his mercy and for his grace. And I'm thankful for the opportunity to understand and to get understanding and to get wisdom that he's trying to give me to walk this walk out, and do what I'm called to do. I'm just grateful for his blessings and everything that he's given me. Y'all, prayer does work. Prayer does work. Everything that I prayed about for my daughter to be smart and beautiful and kind and all of that stuff. Every time I talk to a teacher up there at that school, they like, I just want to let you know that she's so smart and she's so beautiful, and, or not beautiful, but she's just so smart and she's kind and she's very helpful and she's intelligent. She's just so smart. And I'm just like, thank you, God, because when I was pregnant with her, I would pray, y'all. And I know sometimes we get weary and thinking that our prayers is not being heard, and the things that we're praying for is not being heard. But God will take care of his children. But you have to be a child of God. You have to be adopted from God. You know, you have to be adopted to God to be a child of his, and you have to take on his ways. We got to let go of the ways of the world and take on his ways. And once we become a child of him, he ain't gonna let nothing happen to you. He's gonna always be a provider. He's gonna always be a protector. He's gonna always love you. He's gonna always care for you. But he's not gonna give you something that's gonna hurt you. If you're not ready for the thing that you're praying for, he's not gonna give you something that's gonna hurt you. And then sometimes it may be healing, you know, in your body, or healing in somebody else's body. But his ways are not our ways. It's a time for everything. There comes a time for everything, a time to be happy and a time to be sad, a time to reap and a time to sow. It's a time for everything, a time to be alive and a time to die. It's a time for everything, unfortunately. But fortunately, there will be a time where we will be risen up with him. And then we don't have to worry about nothing no more. We don't have to worry about the flesh. We don't have to worry about crying. We don't have to worry about fear. We don't have to worry about pain. We don't have to worry about none of that no more. And we have to look forward to that. And we have to get to our daily lives what the Lord has given us, like the talents that he gave a couple of people. And one was like, oh, you gave me this and here you go, I doubled it up. And he went to another one, he was like, oh, I got 2 more, I got 3 more talents. And then he went to one and the one said, oh, I just buried mine, right? And that was the blessing that he gave, you know, he gave them, and he wanted them to, you know, it's a parable, but he wanted us to know that we need to be out here working and be grateful for what he gives us, and not just be sitting on the wisdom, or not just be sitting on the blessing, and not just be sitting on what he gives us. We need to go and share the gospel, share how he's blessed us, share, you know, our kindness and his favor and his forgiveness. Share that with other people. That way he can bless you even more. That way he'll bless you even more. And this God is so good, and I'm grateful to him for the wisdom, and I'm grateful for this opportunity for him to sit me down and you know, chipped away a little bit more of this flesh, so that way I could be lifted up in my spirit, to be able to be a better server, to be able to be more humble, grateful for the things that he has blessed me with, for the mind that he has blessed me with, for the family that he has blessed me with, because I haven't been through as much as I've known other people to go through, right? And then what was meant for evil, what the enemy tried to do for evil, and that's what I was saying too, it's the generational thing. We don't realize what we're doing at this day and age, what we're doing right now, or how we're living will affect the kids, that our grandkids, our great grandkids, how it will affect them. And but what the enemy, sometimes you need those things that you go through in order for you to become who God needs you to become, in order for us to save a generation, in order for us to help somebody else, a stranger or a neighbor or even an enemy. We just have to learn how to cry out, and we have to learn how to accept what he's trying to give us and what he's trying to purge from us. We have to learn how to accept it and be patient, because God is a patient God. He is really patient. But and that's it. That's all. We will see you guys later. I promise we'll see y'all later on today. I'm gonna see if I can get a ride to the store. I need some more paper towels and toilet papers and things. And then we'll see y'all later. Until next time, continue to pray for me. I continue to pray for y'all. I love y'all.